Lonneke Löwik, you are CEO at INREV. Thank you for joining us on BiTV.
Good afternoon, Lonneke. How are you doing?
Very good. It's a pleasure to have you back with us. INREV and ULI Europe have recently published a short paper focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. What did you identify as the main DEI challenges faced by the European real estate industry?
Yes, we indeed have done it, and that publication that we've recently done is on the back of a much larger study that we did at the end of last year with 7 industry associations across the globe. And that's where one of the challenges came very clearly, and where we felt we needed to dive into a bit more in Europe, is that when we look on a global level, to my unpleasant surprise, we saw that there were fewer female senior participants in Europe than we saw in the US and in Asia. And that is something we wanted to understand slightly better, first of all. But one other challenge that we face is that in Europe, because of GDPR, among others, we are lacking some of the data that is being collected in the US already for quite some time, where the E&I discussion has taken on a bit longer than here in Europe. But also in Asia, there's much more data available than there is in Europe. So if we know where we're standing with the E&I challenges, one of the difficulties we have is, where do you start? We know the discussions are happening, and there's a lot of attention to it, a lot of focus to it, right? So I would say, but we're lacking the data to back this up beyond gender diversity. So what we've done, we did some interviews with our members, with ULI Europe together, with their members, to understand some of the issues a bit more better, beyond the relatively short amount of data that we have received in this global study. And also, one of the challenges in Europe as well is that there are so many differences between countries in Europe. If you talk about the US, it's one country. In Europe, you cannot, have the same view on the Nordics than to, for example, Southern Europe or Germany or the Netherlands, for example. They're all very diverse.
Mm-hmm. And your paper reports a growing commitment from the European real estate industry to tackle these issues. How can real estate companies and professionals improve their approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion, do you think?
Well, it's interesting as it is. Indeed, there is a much growing commitment to it. And we saw that happening during the pandemic, where there's much more focus on the social aspect, not only on investments, where to invest in, but also within the organizations themselves. We see that with our members. So the discussions are now taking place, and there is much more policy around it to tackle these issues. And I think that's very important, that it's been addressed now and acknowledged, and that there are now a lot of members who have their policies in order or working on them. And there are all kinds of initiatives to increase a diverse workforce within our industry.
And speaking of that, what can a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment bring to the real estate sector?
Well, it is. If you have a more diverse community working in the same sector, it can help, our industry to be more resilient, much more fit for purpose. You have different views, different inputs, and that as an industry can create an asset that is relevant to all kinds of people and communities that use them, and not always the same thinking. And I think that really helps to, to continue the sector as becoming a very strong, it is already a strong market, but to be much more resilient to everything that we were faced with.
Thank you very much, Lonneke Löwik, for your time, for your insight. Thank you all for joining us. See you soon on BiTV.
Thank you.